Welcome. Today we're focusing on leg strength and then leg stretching. As we get older, it's hard to determine which one is more important, our strength or our flexibility and mobility. Um, you could argue both or either. So we're going to do a pose, or this is more like PT, more kind of exercise than traditional yoga. We're going to strengthen the outer hips, and then we're going to stretch the outer hips. We're going to strengthen the quads, and then we'll stretch the quads. So we'll go all around the legs like that. So I want you to stand on one edge of your mat, and then just take a small squat. We're going to maintain this squat, and then you're going to walk. It'll take 2 or 3 steps to the other edge of your mat. So this is it. But I want you to keep the knees bent the whole time. And we're just going to do several passes to each side, maintaining this small squat. Make sure you're breathing. Just a couple more. So my design for this is to really strengthen the legs. And the reason we're stretching is because, after you do any strengthening, it is so beneficial for your muscles and your tissues to stretch. We're going to do one more pass and end at the place on the mat where you began. But my hope here is for you to take these little exercises, strength training positions. Go ahead, come on back and shake it out. Is to take these and then do them, maybe on your own a little bit more, or like instead of doing just that one set, do 2 or 3 sets. Okay. So now one more thing for the outer hips, and then we're going to stretch. So I want you to, this is balancing. And so I would rather have you hold onto a wall or a chair so that you can easily balance, because I want you to move your leg out to the side. Of course, Kelly, this would be the same thing if you want to lay on your side and lift the top leg up and down. If you feel at this point, standing is too much. We're going to do 2 more on this side. And then shake it out. So when I do, I really kind of do this routine almost every day. And I'm really just doing about 1 set, which is about 8 to 10 reps of whatever it is that we're doing. So that's what we're doing today. You could, though, of course, do this on your own and do 2 or 3 sets. All right, so let's switch sides. And we're lifting and lowering that leg out to the side. All right, and then shake it out. Now, I'm going to sit in the chair. So if you have a chair available, you can, of course, do the same. But we do this stretch all the time for the outer hips when we're on our back. It's the nice figure 4. Let me come. So when we're on our backs, I ask you to cross your left ankle over your right knee, and then you can grab your legs and hug them in. But if you're doing this seated, I want you to actually gently press that left knee down and hinge yourself forward just a little bit. But I'd rather you focus on pushing with your left hand on that left, not knee, but left thigh. And we're going to take 2 or 3 more breaths here. Very slowly, come on up. Cradle that leg as you uncross it, no matter what seated or laying down position you're in. And then switch sides. Keep that right foot flexed. Hand just above the knee, press down, And with that pressure of pressing down on the thigh, you don't have to lean forward as much. I actually like to lean to the left in this position. It changes the angle of the stretch a little bit. Big breaths here. Let's send all this oxygen to this tight right side. Two more breaths. Okay, and then come on up and shake it out. So in this class today, we're focusing a bit more on the stretching. I think because our legs are already really strong. We do so much every day that we know in a way, in a sense, how to strengthen the legs. That's the easy part because we feel like we're doing stuff. We tend to stretch a little less. So we'll just spend a little more time today in the stretching. Okay, so let's come on down. Actually, before we come on down, I want you to make a loop in your strap. This is going to go kind of midway around the thighs. So have a smallish loop, and then you have two blocks. We're going to do bridge pose, and your feet are going to be on the blocks. Okay? Now, this makes bridge pose a fair bit more difficult. So I should offer, if your legs are tired, if you're like, you know what, maybe I want to try it without the blocks first, by all means. But what I want to make, though, mandatory is the strap around the mid thighs. And then so that when you come in, let me show you from this direction, so that when you come into just a regular foot position, that's how far apart your knees are and that strap should be. So when we start lifting up to bridge pose, the strap keeps your legs, your thighs, in line with the hips. A lot of times when we lift up to bridge pose, the knees want to splay out. This keeps them very, very stable. All right, so when you are ready, your feet are on your blocks, lower your torso down. Arms are alongside of you. Press the arms down, press the back of the head, and then on your inhale, lift your hips. And on your exhale, lower. Inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. Continue with the pace of your breath. Two more. We're going to hold that last one. So here, hold it up. Press your arms down. Press your feet down. If you have a little more energy to give, energetically drag your feet back toward the rest of your body so you get a little more strength through the hamstrings and the buttocks. One more breath. All right, lower yourself down. Hug it in. And then go ahead and release that strap. We're going to do a quick hamstring stretch here. We're going to end up doing a longer held one standing. But right now, send your right leg up, clasp your hand behind the thigh, flex that foot, and just take a couple of breaths here. Okay, and then bend the right knee. Just kind of move the thigh around in your hip socket. Kind of draw some circles with that knee or half circles. Okay, and then let's switch. Left leg up, flex the foot. Actually, flex it if you can. When you flex the foot, it lengthens the hamstrings. So without using the strap and just using the hands here, flexing your foot might be too aggressive of a stretch on the hamstrings. Okay, and then bend that knee and roll it around in the hip. Okay. Now we're going to test your acrobatic skills. I want you to move one block off to the side. The other block, you're going to pick it up with both feet. Now, if that was a feat in itself, I want you to stay just holding the block in your feet. If you can change it, I want it to be like so that your feet are gripping the widest part, if that makes sense. So my feet are about a little wider than my hips. So it's not super narrow. Can you tell the difference? Okay. It really doesn't matter. It's not going to be that narrow, regardless of which side the block you're holding on between your feet. Now, knees are bent, feet are flexed, and then you press for a couple of seconds, you press your feet into the block. So you're gripping with your inner thighs, and then relax. And then squeeze the block with the feet. Inner thighs are gripping, and then release. Two more. Squeeze the block. Release. And squeeze. And you're holding it for a couple of seconds. Ooh, and release. Okay, grab the block, feet to the floor. That's a new one, strengthening the inner thighs. Okay, let's roll to the side and come on up. Take your time. So we're going to stretch the hamstrings and the inner thighs now. So this is a stretch I have been doing almost exclusively. I have a pillow on a chair, and I stretch my hamstrings by lifting my leg up. So by bringing my leg up toward me, I have to do very little in terms of hinging forward. Now, if you don't have a chair that's accessible, you could stack up all your yoga props or, use the block that we just had a fair bit lower, but then you hinge forward, shoulders back, head back. So very similar. Okay. So when I do this, I am practicing balancing. So look at your bottom foot. Make sure that your foot is straight. Your weight is, in the heel. You're plugging your toe mounds. Shoulders are back. Head is back. And if I lean forward a little bit, it's happening at my hip creases, not my spine. Okay, if you're leaning forward, I want you to come back a bit. Now, this takes a little balance. Now I want you to turn your left foot and hip open so that the leg is out, the right leg is out to the right. And my assumption is that just by standing in this position, you're already getting a stretch from your inner thigh to your inner knee. Now you control how big that stretch is by how open you turn that left foot and hip. Okay, that's a little too much. You don't want it right at the knee. or of course right up at the inner thigh. So be very mindful of that. So I like this stretch. There's no stress on the spine. There's no arm usage. Like when we use the strap on the floor, the arms and the shoulders really have to hold that leg up when we stretch the arm out to the side. Okay, let's take one more breath. And then we're going to turn back to center. It takes a little bit of skill here. And then grab your right leg under your knee and get that leg down and shake it out. Okay, and then we're going to switch. Other leg is up. Make sure that standing foot, it doesn't turn out. It wants to turn out. It's so much easier to balance like that. So a little flex in the foot, a little squeeze of the quads. Good. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure your head stays back, chin stays tucked. Just a couple more breaths here. Okay, so come all the way upright if you were leaning forward at all. Then my back is going to be to you, but now turn that standing foot open, turn the hips and the torso open so that you get a nice stretch from the inner knee to the inner thigh, but make sure it's not the primary stretch in either of those areas. To do this stretch seated takes a lot of opening in the legs, the hips, the spine, and all along the back. So this just takes all of that challenge away. Let's take two more breaths here. Okay, and then you're going to slowly turn back to the center, grab that thigh under the knee, and bring the leg down and shake it out. Okay, one more thing for the quads, for the front of the leg. Okay. So you're going to stand on the first setting of a block. Let's stand with the left leg. Okay, and so my right foot's firmly planted on the floor. I'm standing on the block with my left foot. Slow as molasses, you're going to straighten the left knee. And slow as molasses, you're going to come back down to the floor and bend the left knee. So it's painfully slowly. So there's just so much control through the left thigh. Your hip's going to get it too. We're just going to do two more. Okay. And then come on down, shake it out. And switch. Do what you can here. Really, really slowly. Two more. After you do 8 or 10 of these, the knee should, around the muscles around the knee and, the quad you should feel a little tired. Okay, so block off to the side. So let's, two ways to stretch the quads here. Now, if you are easily able to reach your foot, easily able, please do this. If that is difficult for you, I would suggest coming into a lunge and then bending into the back knee. So it looks kind of awkward looking, but I want the stretch to be more above the knee than, our traditional lunge gets right here. But when you bend that back knee, it's much more powerful and you get a stretch lower on your leg. Okay, so choose one of the two. All right, and then slowly come back to center, shake out the legs. Okay, second side. Again, if you can easily reach your foot, grab for the foot, get a nice stretch through the quads. If that's just too difficult, please do not force. I don't want you to wreck your spine by trying to get that foot. So you come into a lunge, you bend into that back knee, and you lean back a little bit through the torso. This, of course, it takes a little more power, a little more strength to be able to do that, but it gets the right part of your muscles. Take one more breath here. And release, shake it out. Okay, so a short Shavasana today, but let's use those blocks. Let's just put them on the first height. You can put that strap off to the side. Put a blanket over the over those two blocks, and then if you do have a second blanket, that's always great for your head and neck. Okay. Never go anywhere without my eye pillow. Actually, let's roll this blanket. I think that would be even more support. So just try to roll up that blanket as tight as you can, and that gives you a little more height, a little more support under the knees, which releases the low back, which releases your diaphragm even more. Okay? So, of course, if you want a blanket to cover up with, tuck yourselves in. Put the weight of your eye pillow on your forehead so that there's just a light covering of eye pillow over your eyes. And then let your legs fully drape. Let them drape to each side. Let the weight of your knees relax onto the blanket, which falls onto the block, which is supported on the floor. And from there, the rest of your legs become heavy. That heaviness sinks into all around your legs and hips. And we'll just take a couple of minutes here to rest, to recover in silence. Shavasana. Please take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and then circle your wrists, bend your elbows, slide your arms overhead for a stretch. And then one at a time, bend your knees, place your feet on top of that blanket, make your way onto your side. And press yourself up to a seated position with your eyes closed. And bring your hands to your heart center with a slight bow to your head. Thank you so much for your practice today. I hope that this short sequence inspires you, motivates you to continue with this strengthening, with this stretching, and greater or for greater ease in your body. Namaste.